Welcome back to Unit 9 with Miss Duncan. We're going to talk a little bit about the isms today, post-French Revolution reactions and revolutions. So to get us started here, we've got... Come on, computer. For some reason, we didn't want to go to the next slide. We have your concept checks. By the end of this first section, you should be able to answer these questions. Getting into the peace settlement, right after Napoleon has been dealt with and taken care of, the object and the idea of the day was to restore that balance of power to Europe. France had gotten extremely powerful. They didn't want to get into that situation again. They wanted to make sure that France didn't gain as much power as it had had under Napoleon and didn't control as much land. So they restore France back to its original borders, its 1792 borders, and go about the business of trying to move past Napoleon's empire and conquering of Europe. So they meet at Vienna. So there's going to be a guy named Metternich who's going to be the lead person at this Congress of Vienna. He is the right-hand man to the leader of Austria. And the countries that are going to be taking care of all this, that are going to become known as the Concert of Europe, or the main powers of the Congress of Vienna. I like to remember using the helpful term GRAP for Great Britain, Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Again, they want to restore those French borders. They want to put the monarchs of Europe back in power, and they are going to restore a Bourbon monarch. Prussia is going to be given sentinel status, meaning they're going to be put on alert. They're going to be the guard dogs, if you will, because if there's one thing we know about Prussia, especially in this day and age, it's got that powerful military. Belgium is going to be set up as its own place, so is Holland. And the Netherlands is going to become a thing. Poland is going to become a thing. And again, getting back to that whole balance of power idea. So we have this cartoon that we will talk about in class about the Congress of Vienna, including this one. What I really like about this one is you've got this term, SAX, and you're not quite sure where they're going there. But of course, it should sound a little bit familiar to you with Saxony. And that's because if you take a look at this cartoon, you have got the pieces of and the countries of Europe kind of being parceled out, torn apart, and handed over to these parts of the Congress, these leaders of the Congress of Vienna. So we'll see here in a minute on the next slide who exactly that is holding on to Saxony in this cartoon. To the victors goes the spoils. Again, Prussia and Russia, they make these demands. They had were one of the major fighters, and of course Russia liberates Europe from Napoleon. So they make demands at the Congress of Vienna, and these demands are usually met. Russia wants Poland, and Prussia wants Saxony. So that guy up here on the cartoon with that really snazzy hat and smile there, he's of course going to be from Prussia, because they're going to get Saxony in all of this. Again, they're trying to make sure that the balance of power is never threatened. Now, we do need to make sure that you know who the individual people of the Congress of Vienna are. Metternich with Austria, Castlereagh with Great Britain, Talleyrand with France, and of course Alexander the First with Russia, and Frederick William with Prussia. So make sure you can match those up and line those up on your notes. There's also going to be a separate kind of group to branch off at Russia's behest, and that would be the Holy Alliance. They're going to be made up of Russia, Austria, Prussia, and the G in GRAP is really going to hold back and not want to get involved in this because they don't have the same kind of governments that the rest of these countries have. Russia, Austria, Prussia all have, essentially monarchs or one leader in control of their country, where Great Britain, they have a monarch, but they are also more governed by their parliament. They have got a lot of interaction with the people. It's a lot more democratic, if you will, in their country. So they're not going to want to get into an alliance where they're going to have to, just say, sure, we can do this, because they don't have that luxury. They have to go back and get it passed through Parliament and make sure that it's okay with the people of Great Britain first, or at least with Parliament and the nobles. The Holy Alliance is going to be concentrated on making sure that revolutions don't enter into their countries. Boy, is that not going to work out for them by 1830 and 1848. So we're talking also about Latin America getting its independence from Spain. This is where we're going to first start to hear rumblings of America, of the United States, kind of saying, hey, listen, this is now in our sphere of influence. Latin America, that's down here by us. Maybe you all need to just stay away and kind of let us take care of things down here. And that's going to be basically spelled out in something called the Monroe Doctrine that we'll talk about a little bit later. The German Confederation, of course, Germany is still not quite Germany yet. It's still the German Confederation. But there's a lot of nationalism in Germany. We saw how Napoleon comes in and gets rid of the Holy Roman Empire rulers, and all those electors, but the Germans are really not very happy with Napoleon because now they're under Napoleonic code and Napoleonic rule. So there's one thing that Napoleon did actually do for the Germans was gave them something to fight against, and that's why nationalism is extremely strong in Great Britain. So there's something called the Carlsbad Decrees that are going to be passed by the German Confederation in 1819. It's a restriction against nationalism and liberalism in this German Confederation. So anything that has, because again we're trying to put the old rulers back in power, anything that smells of liberalism or nationalism is going to need to be stomped out, and they're going to do that through really restricting and censoring the universities and the newspapers, because of course the newspapers are reporting these things, and you've got a lot of subversive ideas that the professors are talking about at the universities. So they're really trying to get rid of these ideas, and so passing these Carlsbad Decrees is going to be one of the steps they're going to take towards trying to root out nationalism and liberalism from the country. Here's an awesome picture. Again, our hot men of AP Euro has more nominees for the calendar. Mr. Metternich and Talleyrand, Mr. France there. So this map is definitely one that we want to get a little bit comfortable with. We're going to see it quite a bit throughout this unit and in the future. We've got Russia up there and the Kingdom of Poland, both orange, because again, Russia is kind of Poland is a new country, but Russia is kind of basically taking it in and controlling it. Prussia's also got Saxony. The word Saxony, of course, is right above the word German. And something that we should notice here, if you haven't already, is that the big purple line, the bold purple line, right about here, it is showing the boundaries of the German Confederation according to the key up there. And the boundaries of the German Confederation extend through Prussia, through Austria, and around the German Confederation. So, we're not quite Germany yet, but parts of these territories are technically Austrian, technically Prussian, and we're going to have to see how that resolves itself a little bit later when we talk about German unification. You can also see down there at the bottom the Italian peninsula there. It is still made up of papal states. You've got the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, you've got Piedmont, Sardinia, and all of these other little papal state countries, if you will, papal states, and of course the key tells you what all the little itty bitty ones are. And then of course you got Paris right there in the center. So we'll be taking a look at this. It's also worth a note to point out the Ottoman Empire is technically it has Greece and a lot of the territory right above Greece, because one thing we're going to know when we're done with this is that nationalism kind of starts off with Greece wanting their independence from the Ottoman Empire. And then later on in Unit 10, when we talk about imperialism, all those countries right above it are going to start to become their own countries as well, because the Ottoman Empire is slowly going to head back to Turkey. And what is done with those countries leads to problems of World War I. So Metternich and conservatism, again, state-blended monarchy, bureaucracy, aristocracy, there are multiple ethnic groups in that Austrian Empire. If you're looking back at the map, I mean, it is huge. It is not the smaller country that we know Austria to be today. Of course, if you look at Vienna, it's technically inside the German Confederation, which I think is also important to note, because there is going to be a gentleman a little bit later that says Austria should be part of Germany because it once was and should have always been, whenever he's trying to basically take over a lot of countries and reunite German nations back into the fold. So if you caught on that I was talking about Hitler there, then nice job. But ethnic groups are going to end up breaking up Austria. In the beginning of this unit, Metternich is a very strong figure. By the end, we're going to see Metternich has to turn tail and run out of his country, because there are multiple nationalities that are going to serve to want to break away and break up the country, and he's going to have to deal with that. He does not like nationalism, because you've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 different ethnicities or cultures in his country, and they're all going to want to be their own country, so he can't really ever get Austria to unite as one because of this nationalism problem. So this is the end of this section. We'll pick up that short little bit on socialism here in just a moment on Concept Check number 2. Go ahead and make sure you can answer these questions.